Hey guys, it's GetGejo122. Before we begin today's video, I would like to address another comment made to suggest a nickname. Today's nickname has been suggested by Minor Mole, and he has suggested a nickname for Natu. And for the nickname that he wanted, he was very specific about what he wanted, though he was not entirely clear with me as to why he wanted this. So he wanted me to call Natu El Natu. El Natu is essentially just Spanish for the Natu. But yeah, he wanted to do this for a friend of his. So for whatever reason it may be, there you go, Minor Mole. Natu has been named El Natu, thanks to you. Now, on with the video. Huh? Uh-oh. Togepi hatched from the egg! Hey guys, it's GetGejo122. That is not how I wanted to start the episode, but I guess we're starting with this. Togepi has hatched from the egg that we received from the mysterious gentleman. Okay, well, I guess, no time like the present. Let's talk about Togepi for a hot second before we actually get into what we're gonna be doing today. So, going into Togepi as a Pokemon. I'm sure for those of you who are fans of the anime, especially the early anime, Togepi is a relatively recognizable Pokemon. In fact, it's so recognizable that people erroneously assumed for years that Togepi was part of Gen 1, where it actually was part of Gen 2. In this particular generation, Togepi is a normal type, and because of how it works, it must be hatched in order to obtain it. There is no way for you to obtain Togepi in the wild in pretty much any game. As baby Pokemon, Togepi has relatively weak stats, but that is not particularly uncommon for a Pokemon of this particular nature. However, once it evolves into Togetic, it goes from being a normal type to being a normal flying type, which sounds like a really cool thing, and from going from an egg to a little flying egg definitely does seem cute, but there are a couple of things. The biggest thing is that Togetic does work in theory, but does not work necessarily as well in practice. This is a case of a Pokemon that doesn't really work because of how the type system works. Because of how Togetic's stats are distributed, it focuses mostly on defenses, having really high special defense and decent physical defense. And while it does have decent special attack at base 80, its physical attack at base 40 is terrible. Which, again, doesn't seem like a bad thing, just teach it special attacks. The problem is, because it's a normal flying type and all normal and flying type attacks are considered physical in this game, there's no way for Togetic to take advantage of its type with respect to its stats. So you're a little stuck there. The other thing that you need to be wary of when it comes to this particular Pokemon is that it can have one of two abilities. One of which is really good, the other of which is kinda iffy. On the one hand, you could get Serene Grace, which is the really good ability that Dunsparce has, which doubles the odds of secondary effects happening. On the other hand, you could get Hustle, which boosts your attack, but also severely lowers your accuracy. So it's definitely hit or miss when it comes to Togetic. That said, it does learn some pretty interesting moves, including Metronome straight off the bat, as well as Magical Leaf. It'll learn Ancient Power leveling up, as well as things like Follow Me, Wish, and Safeguard, which all provide their utility for different reasons. And it does get the strongest physical normal type attack in the game, aside from Hyper Beam Self-Destruct, that being Double Edge. So it does get some nice stuff, but I think it's safe to say that this Pokemon does not realize its full potential until it reaches Togekiss in Gen 4. But don't be fooled. In later generations, this becomes an excellent Pokemon, especially if you get it with Serene Grace. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's at least check to see what ability my Togepi got. Hustle, of course. Okay, now I'll see you guys where we actually need to be. Okay, so now I'm more or less where we were last time on Pokemon Fire Red. We entered the Seabolt Canyon, we fought a whole bunch of trainers, caught a handful of new Pokemon, and evidently, between episodes, I had to go off to take care of a couple of errands, and Togepi decided to hatch before I actually went to start the episode. But that's life for you. Never goes exactly as planned, but that's okay, because we brought new life into the world. So now that we are properly here, we're going to be heading further south. I believe there's a hidden item here. Found a cherry berry. Excellent. And now we find the Tenobia ruins ahead. So welcome to the Tenobia ruins. Now that we have gotten to this specific spot, there is one new Pokemon that we can encounter, or rather, we could encounter it if we were not playing Fire Red. In this particular body of water, there is one Pokemon that is exclusive to Leaf Green, and this is essentially the counterpart to Skarmory. And that Pokemon is Mantine. Now, Mantine's stats are kind of weird. It has relatively average stats, kind of well balanced, but the biggest stat that it has by far is special defense. If you're looking for a water type special tank, this can be really good. And the nice thing about Mantine is that it actually has a great moveset even through level up. It learns pretty much all the bubble moves you want to learn. It learns Bubble and Bubble Beam, learns Takedown, learns Wing Attack of all things, and learns Water Pulse and Confuse through level up as well. And it's compatible with some really good TMs as well, such as Aerial Ace and, of course, the ever useful Surf. And while it does have decent special defense, and that is definitely its biggest asset, offensively, Mantine is not the best thing in the world. Additionally, when it comes to its type, defensively, it's not the greatest thing when it comes to dealing with certain Pokemon such as rock types and especially electric types. But it does also have an advantage over a lot of other water types that are normally weak to grass type attacks. So there's definitely some trade-offs with Mantine one way or the other. Though if you want a good water flying type, I would still recommend Gyarados over Mantine if you want something more offensively viable. But that doesn't mean Mantine is bad either. Now that we got that taken care of, let's go here. And if you guys were waiting, great anticipation for this episode, I don't have good news for you. Welcome to Weepith Chamber. This is one of a handful of chambers in this particular area of the Tenobia ruins. And there is one new Pokemon that you can find here. Unknown. Okay, let's get into this. Unknown, known as the Symbol Pokemon. It does not evolve into any Pokemon. What you see here is what you get. But Unknown has many different forms. In fact, in this particular generation, it actually went from 26 forms to having 28 forms. When it was originally introduced in Generation 2, it had one form for every symbol of the alphabet and had a form that corresponded with that particular letter. In the case of this Unknown that I have encountered here, we found the N symbol. In Gen 3, they introduced two new symbols in the form of an exclamation mark and a question mark. And I actually like these two forms in comparison because it gives them a little more attitude by having their eyelid half closed, which kind of makes them look like they're either very tired or very annoyed, which I find kind of funny. But unfortunately, that is the most interesting thing about Unknown because there are no positives with this Pokemon. It has mediocre stats across the board, and although it is a powerful psychic type in theory, it being a psychic type is completely irrelevant because the only moves that it learns are Hidden Power and Psychic. Whoa, wait, I'm sorry, did I say Psychic? I was lying. It only knows Hidden Power. It will never learn any moves through level up, it will never learn any moves through TMs, HMs, not capable of breeding as far as I'm aware, which why would you want to breed this thing? The only move it will ever learn is Hidden Power, a move that, while good in theory, in practice, at the end of the day, it is still a move that has a random type and a random power determined by the individual values of a Pokemon. So there is no way to know whether or not Unknown will even be able to take advantage of the fact that it is a Psychic type, and more likely than not, it will not do this. The sad thing is, this is actually Unknown at its peak in this generation. I've been talking about a lot of Gen 2 Pokemon saying that, oh, it gets better in Gen 4. You know, it may be mediocre now, but just wait. Once you get to Gen 4, it's way better. No. This Pokemon is ironically at its peak in this generation. Because when the physical special split happened, Hidden Power went from being either physical or special, depending on what specific type it turned into, to strictly being special, regardless of what type it turns into. What does that mean for Unknown? It means in later generations after this one, Unknown is completely capable of using its physical attack in any way. This is a horrible Pokemon, and I will stand by the notion that this is objectively the worst Pokemon. It's not the weakest Pokemon in terms of base stats. That honor at the current point in the series goes to Sunkern, but Sunkern learns good moves. Sunkern evolves. Sunkern has potential. This has no potential. In fact, it's so bad that in modern Pokemon games, not only can you not transfer it to modern Pokemon games, aside from Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but even if you were able to somehow get it into the game, you can't use it because modern Pokemon games have removed the one attack it is capable of using. In fact, it's so bad that when they made Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they actually had to backtrack on their decision to remove Hidden Power just to make it even somewhat possible for you to use Unknown in that game. If they didn't do that, Unknown would have served almost no purpose whatsoever. For the sake of the Pokedex, I obviously recommend catching it, but don't do anything with it. Store it in your PC. If you want to get all the letters, you can, but that's just another box that you're wasting that you could be filling with actual good Pokemon. Get an Unknown, call it a day, head home, and then do literally anything else with your life. This Pokemon is not worth your time at all. So let's catch it. Gonna be paralyzing it as always. I am not gonna try to flip any damage to it because, like I said, Unknown has mediocre stats. Alright, well, there's Hidden Power. It dealt 3 damage. I'm not going to give it a hard time because there is a bit of a difference in levels here. I am more than double Unknown's level, but still, we'll never know what type it is, and frankly, I don't care to find out. There you go. You're not actually worth a Great Ball, but I just want to get this process done. Unknown, the simple Pokemon. Its flat, thin body is always stuck on walls. Its shape appears to have some meaning. No, it doesn't. If you want to give a nickname to... You know what? No. This is Unknown N. I know exactly what nickname to give this. I'm not letting you guys take this one. Perfect. Perfect! Because it's an Unknown N. It's nickname. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, is there any other thing in this particular set of ruins? No, there is not. All you can find here are Unknown. There are just a bunch of different Unknown. There is nothing else to do here. There are no hidden items. There's no secret treasure. It's just... there isn't even any Braille to figure out. Oh good, Unknown, and again, haven't seen that in a hot minute. There's literally nothing here except Unknown. And you know what's even more frustrating? There's more than one of these places. This is the Dilford Chamber, which again, does not serve any purpose. There's nothing here for us at all. Oh, and look at that. There's another cave over here, guys. There's another cave. I wonder what's in here. Could it possibly be more Unknown? Oh, look at the Scuffib Chamber. I'm not even sure what letter that is. That might be Unknown Z. Seriously, there's nothing here but Unknown. There is no secret treasure for you to get. There's nothing. There's nothing of note or value at all aside from these Unknown. And the ridiculous thing is, remember that strength puzzle I did in the last episode? I had to do that in order to unlock these ruins. They wouldn't be accessible to you otherwise. This is easily the most disappointing hidden thing in the game. I will say straight up, it's a terrible thing. I know that they try to create all this interesting lore on Unknown, but that doesn't matter when it doesn't do anything. At least in game. Credit where it's due though. Like in the movies, Unknown is like a god tier Pokemon. I don't understand how it does half the stuff that it does, but it does. But in this game, it's not any good whatsoever. So I think with that in mind, I'm gonna head back to One Island because our business here is done. I am not going to indulge you by capturing all the Unknown because that is a waste of time and space. I don't need to be doing that because we did have a task to do and that task has been completed. So let's give our man Celio the Sapphire. Hand of the Sapphire to Celio. So this is the gem that forms a pair with the ruby. Griffin, you've gone through a lot to get this, didn't you? You don't have to tell me. I know it wasn't easy. Thank you so much. Now it's my turn to work for you. Please give me a little time. Okay, this is good. I did it! I linked up with Lynette! Griffin, I did it! I've managed to link up with trainers in the Hoenn region! Finally, the network machine is fully operational! Griffin, I owe it all to you. Thanks to you, my dream came true. I'm not crying. That's enough about me. Griffin, you're going to keep looking for exotic Pokemon, right? I wish you the best of luck. Yes, so what exactly did this accomplish? By giving him the Ruby and the Sapphire, we have now unlocked a new feature. We are now able to trade Pokemon with the gains Pokemon Ruby, Pokemon Sapphire, and later on, Pokemon Emerald. And yes, you really have to do all the that I had to do in order to unlock this feature. If you don't do this, you will never be able to trade between this game and any of the Hoenn games. Will I be showing this off? Unfortunately, I lack the hardware to do so. But there you go, that is how you do it. But more importantly, now that we have unlocked this particular feature, 2 new things have come up in the Kanto region. And next time on Pokemon Fire Red version, we are going to be tackling one of those things. I know this was a relatively short episode, but I just needed to kind of pack up the Sevii Islands nice and properly. And I hope you guys look forward to the next episode when we go searching in Cerulean Cave. See you guys then.